Today on Great on Camera Behind the Scenes, my live video streaming teaching tips service that I do for all my friends on weekdays, I want to tell you about something most people never knew about lights, because it really matters now that we're all setting up lights to be on camera. Now, I've done a bunch of videos about where to put your lights and that kind of thing. I've done those on YouTube. I've actually done like recorded videos on that. If you have questions, I can point you over to that. So just put it in the comments below and I'll point you to one or more of those videos about where to set up your lights. But one of the things that most people don't realize about lights is that the physical size of the light will make your light softer or a lot more harsh on you. So here's what I want you to think about. Think about go out in direct sunshine. And yeah, granted, the sun is ginormous, it's huge, but relative to where we are when it's very far away, it's just a tiny little point of light in the sky coming at us. So when you're outside in direct sunshine, you get really harsh light on you. You get really hard shadows. Your eyes might be in the shade, and it can be really bad for photography and stuff like that. Then if a cloud comes overhead, then the cloud becomes the light source itself. The cloud is diffusing the light over a much bigger area relative to us as humans standing on the ground on Earth. So yeah, I know physically a cloud is really tiny compared to the size of the sun. But from our perspective here, where we're standing on the ground on the planet Earth, and a cloud comes over, the cloud becomes this giant light source. Now, the reason that that matters is because people have different types of lights and lighting in their environment. And what I tell people a lot of times, they'll go out and buy 3 or 4 really bright lights and they'll put them by their camera and shine them at themselves, and they'll still get kind of a harsh look to their light. And ironically, if they would just turn those lights around and face the wall, assuming you have a light colored wall or a really light gray or a white wall or something like that, if you bounce really bright light against a giant wall like that, it comes back on you and it's really soft. So one of the things that I used to do as a photographer all the time, got my camera here, and I never pointed my flash directly at the person I was taking a picture of. I would point it at the ceiling so it would bounce off the ceiling, and then just the wash of light would come down. So the bigger your light source is, the better it's going to be. Now, the other thing is, if you're bouncing light from a light source to a wall and then back to you, it has to be a pretty darn bright light. Then if you get lights closer to you, they automatically become bigger. So one of the things that I try to do is I put my lights just barely out of view of the camera, and that way they're as close to me as possible, and therefore they are as big as possible. And granted, I have studio style lights, but there are a couple different ways to do it. But the main thing that you need to understand is lights are much more flattering to your face if they're soft. And you get the softest light by having it be a big light source. If you've ever been in a photographer's studio, you know they have those big umbrellas or big, what they call soft boxes, a big soft box with lights in those. That's because it allows the light to kind of bounce around inside the soft box and then come out through a giant panel at the front of the soft box. That makes for a big, soft light shining on the subject's face, and that gives you a much better look overall. Tiny little lights far away, that's not going to do the trick. I will show you, just for example, I'll show you one light. I've got this light in front of me right now, and this is a light that I have shining up at my face. It kind of fills in some of the light from below. But that small light like that, if I had that far away and just turned up really bright and pointed at me, it would look a lot more harsh. So instead I have much bigger lights than that little thing, and they're off to the side of my camera. So that's the tip for today. Happy to point you to the YouTube recorded video that I did about that. If you have questions, just put them in the comments below, and I'm happy to answer your questions. I'll answer them in the comments, or maybe I'll do my next live video to answer your questions. Thanks for watching Great on Camera Behind the Scenes.